The 5 most frequently asked questions in flight attendant job interviews around the world. Hi, how are you? I'm Romulo Gutierrez. This is the Flight Deck Briefing Channel. I'm a recruiter, selector, and specialist in international airlines, and today I'm going to tell you the 5 most common questions in flight attendant interviews. But I'm also going to give you tips on how to answer them, so pay close attention to everything I'm about to say. The 5th most common question asked by airlines around the world is, tell me why you want to work for our company. This particular question often comes up in about 32% of all job interviews for cabin crew positions at Qatar, Emirates, EasyJet, Alitalia, and TAP. All the major airlines worldwide, Lufthansa included. According to my research, this question appears in 32% of interviews. To answer, tell me why you want to work for our company. A lot of people make the mistake of saying things that everyone else says, things everyone mentions. Oh, it's a great company. It's a very solid company. It's a very reputable company. Try to avoid these common phrases. Bring up things that connect you to the business, where you genuinely feel a connection. So let me give you an example. The 3 most important values at Lufthansa are safety, customer experience, and inclusive aviation. Hypothetically, let's say that's the case. Then I could say, why would I like to work here? There are 3 aspects within the company that are very attractive to me. The first one is the issue of flight safety. In my aviation studies and in my training as a flight attendant, I have always valued an aviation industry focused on safety, and I know that Lufthansa holds this value as well. The second aspect, then you weave it together, meaning you connect the aspects related to the company with your own personality, okay? There's no point in giving very generic answers. That won't have the desired effect. The 4th question that comes up the most in airlines around the world, for those of you applying for a flight attendant position, what are your strengths and weaknesses? This question appears in 45% of interviews. It is present in 45% of flight attendant interviews. Positive points or strengths. There's no point in mentioning strengths that don't actually strengthen the profession. I'll give you an example. Oh, I'm really good at public speaking. But does the commissioner speak in public so often? They don't. They rarely speak in public. So that's not a skill you should bring up. I suggest an exercise for you. Open the Notes app on your phone or grab a sheet of paper, split it in half, and on one side, write down 10 positive qualities you notice in yourself, qualities you see in yourself, but that other people have also given you feedback about, okay? So list 10 positive qualities there. I'll list 10 of mine, for example. I won't say all 10, but I would put, let's see, good communication, patience, willingness to help others. For example, those are 3 positive qualities I can mention when asked about this. So when they ask me, tell me 3 positive qualities, I'll remember what I wrote down in my notes or on paper, and I'll highlight the 3 that are most related to the profession. So I could say, look, I find it very easy to help others. I like to serve people. A second point, I'm someone with good communication skills. I have good habits, and I'm very calm. These are 3 positive qualities that I can offer to the company. And the logic for answering the negative points, remember I'm talking about the 4th most common interview question, which comes up 45% of the time, positive and negative qualities. For the negative points, you're going to use the opposite reasoning, meaning real negative traits that you actually have. There's no point in lying or bringing up negative points that someone told you to say. You will usually be subjected to psychological tests at global companies. That's going to happen. If you're going to be subjected to psychological tests, you can't mention weaknesses that you don't actually have. Real negative points. But remember how I told you to write down 10 of them beforehand? Choose 3 that interfere the least with your profession. For example, look, I have a more reserved personality. All right. I'm someone who likes to work as part of a team. I have difficulty working alone. That's fine. After all, a flight attendant works as part of a team. So mention qualities you have that won't get in the way of landing the job. Let's move on to the 3rd question. The 3rd one comes up about 58% of the time, and the first one comes up 69% of the time. Before I continue, if you want to practice or simulate an interview, all right? Just reach out to this WhatsApp number right here, okay? International code 5511, number 977065417. You'll be speaking directly with me, and we'll schedule your interview practice so you can have an excellent interview. Here on the Flight Deck Briefing channel, there's a new video every Wednesday, all right? So make sure to subscribe and leave your like to support this project. The third most common question, which comes up 58% of the time, tell me something that would make you give up the position after being hired. Tell me something that would make you give up the position after being hired. When I analyzed, I actually conducted a survey with more than 4,000 people who went through selection processes at 35 different airlines around the world to come up with these answers. So that's why I asked you to share this video. I was surprised by this question. I've been working in recruitment and selection in international aviation for many years, but I was still surprised. I thought, wow, but why are they asking what would make you give up the job after being hired? So, what's the tip for answering this question? What did I think? The training for flight attendants in aviation after hiring is expensive. It's not cheap. And the younger generation, this isn't a criticism of any generation, people who are 22, 23, 24 years old, they have a different perception of work. Things aren't going well, they just leave. And for the airline, that's very costly. It's a big burden. So when they ask you about this, your answer has to be the same. I am sure about my choice. I have chosen this company. For example, I chose Qatar Airways because it is an airline focused on, for instance, luxury aviation, an airline that truly values the customer experience, and I am certain that nothing will make me give up the position after being hired. On the contrary, I see myself working at this company for a long time and giving my best in my service. In other words, you give the recruiter confidence that you're not suddenly going to just leave. No. You're going to stay, you're going to stick around. Now let's move on to the second most common question, which comes up at 7 minutes and 44 seconds into the video. Why do you want to be a flight attendant? Why do you want to be a flight attendant? This question comes up in 60% of interviews. Why do you want to be a flight attendant? Here, once again, I want to stress that you shouldn't give the same generic answers that all the other candidates will say. Everyone tends to respond the same way. That's not good. Try to highlight 3 aspects of your personality that really define you and are relevant to the profession. Okay? Professionals who don't have much commitment, who just chose this career yesterday or might change their mind in a month or say things like, oh, I decided on this career 2 months ago. I thought it was a great option. That's not good either. You need to show that you've been considering this path for some time. You've already been preparing yourself for this. So I'm going to give you an example of an answer. Let's say I'm in an interview with Alitalia and they ask me, why do you want to be a flight attendant? I can say I can use the 3-step technique, okay? I would say, look, there are 3 factors that helped me and that made me choose the profession of flight attendant. The first one is because as a flight attendant, I will be recognized. It's a profession that's highly respected by society, by people, and everyone wants to have a dignified career. And I see within this profession both human and professional dignity. This is just an example, okay? Now the second point, remember the 3 steps? Second point, I want to be a flight attendant. Always try to bring up something related to the customer because I like serving people and I understand that aviation provides safety, comfort, and above all, an interesting and positive experience for the customer. And I enjoy doing that. If you've had other jobs where you did this, mention them, okay? In fact, at the last company I worked for, I always focused on this idea of providing good experiences to customers, and I believe I can really contribute a lot. And a third point, bring up aspects of your personality, traits that really show who you are and that relate to the flight attendant profession. This question will definitely come up in your interview, okay? And the first question, the very first one, 69% of the time it will be asked, tell me a little about yourself. It's the first question in most interviews. A personal introduction, a personal pitch, okay? When you're going to make this personal pitch, use these 2 techniques. First thing, make your introduction last 2 to 3 minutes. Never shorter than that, never longer than that, all right? Make an introduction that talks a little about you as a person and also a bit about you as a professional, your career choices. So if I were to answer, I could say something like, "Hi, how are you? Let me introduce myself. I'm Romulo Gutierrez. I'm 45 years old. I live in Brazil. I'm married. I have 2 daughters. I'm someone who really loves the beach. I practice stand-up paddleboarding, and I really enjoy sports that are connected to nature." I gave a brief introduction about myself. Professionally, I have worked as a recruiter for 27 years. I specialize in international companies. I develop recruitment processes for airlines. Then, for example, Company A, Company B, Company C, Company D. Explain a little bit. Then I share 2 personal descriptions about myself, okay? Personally, I have always been considered a very responsible person and someone who knows how to deliver great experiences to customers. This is a brief introduction about me. And with that, you've given a good introduction about yourself, and these are the 5 most common questions asked in flight attendant interviews around the world. Now I have a gift for you. Here there will be a video about group dynamics. What group dynamics are like, how group dynamics work in aviation. Go check it out. Great preparation. I'm rooting for you. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.